Greetings, folks. This is Mason Weaver. I'm the author of It's Okay to Leave the Plantation and Tribalism. Got a couple things in my mind. I'm going to talk to you about them today. Black history. Who are we? How did we get here? What responsibilities do we have for the future? Black history. That should be a discussion black folks have with black folks. We should be going to school and trying to demand that the school teaches us our history. We should not be going to a government program to teach black people their history. Or if we learn anything else in this country at all, we better be depending on ourselves. So I'm going to discuss some black history with you. This is tape number 1. I may do more. This is number 1. Story of my history. I was born here in St. Louis. Inner city, poor family. Grandfather was a preacher in St. Louis. He worked hard for the cause of Jesus Christ. I saw him. I lived in his parsonage. I saw God in this man. My mother tried her best to keep her sons, her children safe, and eventually she married a decent man who loved God also, and moved us out to the city. We moved out of St. Louis into further in the suburbs, out in the country, and we were exposed in St. Louis to black people. I remember being 6 or 7 years old before I saw my first white person. I saw them on TV. We had one white kid in our school. I saw a white man walking down the street one day, and I said, "That's a white man." That's how isolated the community was from society. We had a group of people together with us, and we didn't do too much together. I moved to the country, and all I saw were white people. So I've been to school with all black people, and I've been to school with all white people. I've seen how black teachers treat them and how white teachers treat us. But it's a cultural thing. See, when I got to be 18, so I decided to join the Navy. Joined the Navy, left that town. I joined the Navy the same day Dr. King was murdered, April the 4th, 1968. Came back from signing up, was told Dr. King was murdered. Bothered me a little bit. What I saw with Dr. King, from 14 till I was 18, what I saw was a man finally standing up, being a man, taking control of his community, not begging, not whining, not complaining. He was in the South when they were killing black folks in the South. He was protesting the South when the Klan was run by the police, where the judges were Klan members. You had no recourse, you had no protection. The government did not protect us. The government did not stand up for us. That was the struggle of the civil rights movement. Civil rights, folks. It was the government that we were fighting. They were against us, the poll taxes, the literacy taxes. They're all the government. Jim Crow laws. That's when you had no recourse. You could not go to the police because they were the police. And in that atmosphere was fear among men to stand up because you turned up missing. Fear among men to protect their families because you disappeared. You were thrown in jail with no recourse. Lawyers wouldn't help you. In that kind of atmosphere, folks, that's tyranny. And Dr. King stood up in the midst of that and said, "We have had enough." At the same time, there were calls for a revolution. Malcolm X, the Black Panther Party, you had other folks doing things, but Dr. King was saying, "We have had enough." And in the midst of all that hatred, and in the midst of the government coming against you, he stood up, and finally decent white folks and decent black folks stood with him and followed his lead. He had the March on Washington. We proclaimed some profound thoughts. And everyone said, yes, we got to follow his lead, but it took him to lead. It took a man to stand up and lead. 1968, I went to the Navy. Went to Vietnam to get a scratch on me. Came back. And I noticed that America had changed. They killed Dr. King on April the 4th, 1968. And the world, all black America, started looking for a new leader. Who's going to take the new leadership role of leading black people? Are we a tribe? A leadership role? Why couldn't you, black man, be the leader of your family? Dr. King showed you what leadership was. Why couldn't you? Why did 20 million black men stand up and say, we are going to lead our kids. Instead, we waited for a leader. And finally, the enemy gave us a leader. Many leaders. The enemy gave us those who look like leaders and work with King. You know who they are. The people who took basically the blood of Dr. King on their body and took the mantle and tried to take the leadership. So we allowed other folks to lead us instead of you, black man, leading your family and your kids. We allowed that. And we've been depending on finding someone to help us since then. That's helping themselves to you. This is Mason Weaver. We're going to come back with number 2 and discuss the history of black folks and how we got here to that date. Stay right or be left. See you in a second for number 2.